Servus and hello, Matthias Eichler here, and at long last, here is another episode of Singletrack. Not going to lie to you, these last few months have been busier than I've ever been, and it's been hard to focus on the podcast, but I've got some great updates to share with you, which hopefully make all the wait worthwhile. Starting with some rock candy running news. Beast of Big Creek, our mountain race by Hoodsport, Washington, to the summit of Mount Illinois is open for registration. Oh yeah! We also just opened up registration for the Rock Candy Mountain 12-hour endurance run in the Capitol Forest. Details about all these races can be found at rockcandyrunning.com. Also, the Trail Running Film Festival is still going strong and touring all over the world. We're now at over 70 locations that will be screening our incredible films. Check the website trailfilmfest.com to see if you're close to a screening. You don't want to miss that. But we're nice, and we're doing a virtual viewing week in May. Check our website for details. Get your tickets to watch the films from the comfort of your couch. I will be traveling to Auburn, California in a few days to run the Canyons by UTMB 50K, and will be screening the film festival right in downtown at the Auburn State Theater on Friday, April 28th. If you're down there for the event, please come and say hi. Alright, about today's guest, and just in line with what I've been talking about, Erik Stanley is our host for the Trail Running Film Festival in Austin, Texas. He's the founder of Trail Roots, a super cool running community and race organization in the Austin area. I'll let him tell you all about it.
Okay. Yeah, one of my chickens in the coop, it just ran out. I've been having issues with these chickens recently, but we'll just let it roam for a while.
I think that's amazing. If you need to take care of your chickens, then it's okay. We can wait for a second.
No, we're good. I'm just they just tear up, like you kind of, they slowly will just tear up the yard like little bit by little. So I try to keep them contained, but they like to fly out.
Yeah, they're looking they're looking for freedom, but in return, do you get eggs, or do you keep them just for fun, or do you eat them after a few years?
I did raise some broiler hens at one time, and that was the only. I only did that once. There wasn't anything exciting about that, and just butchering like 6 or 8 chickens in one sitting was pretty intense. So. Then I was like, okay, I could see why. Now I appreciate it a little bit more, kind of where my food's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't necessarily want to keep doing that. So yeah, just for the eggs, I get, enough eggs right now to feed the family. So it's, I try to make like one big scramble with some venison, sausage, and sweet potatoes a week. And I just space it out for the first 2 days.
Nice.
So, it's fun. And they're not too much work either.
Yeah, so. if you have the space, I think it's good. What do you do if you travel? Can you leave them alone? Are you worried about that? How long?
Yeah, I'll go for a week, at times, and they have space in their own coop, so it's not ideal because they can't really like roam around as much, but they have food and water, and they just can there's enough space at the bottom where they walk around and hang out. But I'm sure they're not loving it, but it's probably better still than most chickens.
Yeah, it's true.
So
do you worry about predators? Like here in Olympia, Washington, where I'm at, I have lots of neighbors who tried the chicken thing, and then a coyote or a raccoon or whatever gets in the coop, and they get chickens when their kids are little, and then they have to explain to little kids. Right. So those chickens are gone, and
yeah, I mean the biggest issue here are raccoons and sometimes hawks, but we have enough big trees above us that kind of protect them from the hawks. But yeah, every now and then there will be like a raccoon that will be coming around, and so the main thing is I just have to remember to put them up. And so every now and then, every once a year or every other year, there will be. I mean, I've forgotten a few times and they're fine, but then sometimes you're like, you hear a scream in the middle of the night from the chicken, and you're like, shit. And I run outside in my undies, and I'm like, I pick up the pitchfork, and I go after the raccoon, and sometimes I'll find half of the chicken in the other corner of the yard, and sometimes I've saved one once, but the raccoons are vicious. They'll just pull them out through any way they can,
Yeah.
So usually that's on me, though. I just need to make sure I'm putting them up.
Yeah.
And then they're fine. Yeah.
That's amazing. This is literally the most incredible way to start a podcast, and I'm going to leave that in. Erik Stanley from Austin, Texas. You're joining me right outside your chicken coop.
Right.
Thanks for being on the show. We're just going to roll with this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having us. We're excited to host this year for our first time.
Yes, not just for you for the first time, because literally this type for the film festival, you are one of the hosts for the Traveling Film Festival. This way that we are not actually traveling ourselves, but that we have all these local hosts. It's the first time we're doing it in general. And it's been super exciting getting to know folks from all over the country, world, who are wanting to host a film festival. And for me here on the podcast, it's exciting because I get to know some folks, what they're doing, how, not just what they're planning on doing for the film festival, but then the larger conversation of like, how does that fit into their trail community? So let's start there. Erik, so if you say Austin, how close to, I don't know Austin much. I was only there for the run event for a couple of days. Give me a little bit, like how close to like downtown are you? Like if you say Austin, are you like Austin proper? Give us a little bit where you're at and how you tell us about your community.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I live about 10 minutes from downtown Austin. So I'm considered central. I'm somewhat close to the Domain, which is kind of our second downtown. So yeah, and there's a lot of trails around where I live. And Austin in general, doesn't have a bunch of like continuous trail systems. It's more 10, 15, some 5-mile trail systems, but they're all broken up all around the city. And there is the Barton Creek Greenbelt, which stretches off of the Ladybird Lake, which is the crushed granite trail, which you may have run on, like when people come from the running event, they'll run around the lake on that crushed granite trail. That's 10 miles. And then Barton Creek Greenbelt goes off of that, and that has another about 15 miles out back with 10 to 20 miles more of trails that branch off from there. So in 2014, I started Trail Roots, which is our running community, just focused on getting people outside and connecting. And I really, it started as a job for me. It was something I love to do. I ran cross country and track for the University of Texas, and just wanted to find a way to stay in the industry. So we started small, just taking people out on trail runs, and we would do some, track workout. We started with about 10 or 15 people, and now we have 100 plus members. And so basically each week we have about 5 runs. 2 of those are trail. The rest are road or quality workouts. But really just trying to get people together. I found during COVID, I saw people coming out of the woodwork, like just needing community and connection. And to me, the best way to do that is out running, spending time side by side, pushing yourself. And so I really saw that kind of helped me dig into a little bit about our mission and our purpose as a company. And that's kind of what it is helping people push themselves, but spend time together, connecting. And I think it feels like we're more disconnected than ever as a country, as a community, like across the board. Like people, I think, watching the news, you would think, we're all enemies, but when we're out on the trail together and just getting to know each other, you find how similar we are and how much we have in common, and you can appreciate all different perspectives, and that's what I like.
Yeah. I mean, beautifully said. I mean, this is really in many ways what it's all about, more so than trophies and fastest paces or local legend status, right? If
Right.
I see you're sitting out on the porch. You said 10 minutes from downtown. Do you feel like, I mean, do your regular runs just start from your front door and you run a couple miles and you hit trail? No, because I think for us as trail runners, it's an interesting challenge. We all live in somewhat of an urban area, right? Trail doesn't start for most people directly out the front door, and is the
Right.
idea that we drive every day to our workouts, to our trails, or do we have the ability to sort of run a little bit and find some trails? How is it for you?
It's both. Like from my house, I'm probably 2 miles to the closest trail. And I have a fun 10 to 12 mile loop that half of that is on trail, half of it is getting there and getting home. Um, for our group, part of it is showing people all the trails that Austin has to offer and that the surrounding areas offer. And so our Saturday runs, we will, we're checking out different trails every week and, marking those trails for people so that they can kind of learn it in a place where they're not getting lost and that they have other people that are keeping an eye on them. So we do have, group runs throughout the city in different parts. So, I would love to expand that, but right now it's kind of Northwest Austin and downtown.
Mhm.
And so most everyone is driving there. There's a few people that are fortunate to live nearby where they can run to their group workouts. And on occasion, a trail run that is close by to their house. But, like I said, our trail system, like we don't really have any national forest here. We don't have, it's just city parks. And so finding places that have those trails, yeah, you're going to have to drive. But then it's nice because we plan, we get together for breakfast after the Saturday runs, and that gives everybody an opportunity to spend a little bit more time together and get to know people that they might not run with, on any day because the paces are different.
Yeah.
So
Don't say just city parks, right? I have this in a couple days. I'm organizing my little backyard adventure race, and I'm doing it in a city park. I love city parks. I think it's such a
yeah,
great way of introducing runners to trail running, right? I think, and I looked at your website and the kind of races that you're offering and stuff, and I think, right, I mean, especially over here and throughout the way trail running has grown, there's somewhat this misconception that trail immediately means ultra. It has to be crazy long
right.
distances. It has to be super gnarly, right? And I think while that is perhaps aspirational or a component of it, I think if we would only focus on that, we would leave so many people behind. And making it accessible is a super great way of introducing people to trail running and offering people something that, yeah, they've never experienced before, right?
Right. Because I think most people aren't going to come into it learning about trail running and doing, and then jump into an ultra. I think the majority of our members are around the half marathon, range. And so, we have a lot of people doing marathons. We have people doing 50Ks, 100Ks, but it's not everybody. I think between the half marathon and marathon distance is achievable for most people. So, but absolutely, I do like to encourage people to challenge themselves, but it's not compared to someone else. I mean, if you want to use someone as a reference to help you decide what you think you can do, that's fine. But I try to just let people figure out on their own, like what is challenging yourself and what is pushing yourself. Ideally, we get to pushing ourselves beyond what we believe, and that helps you learn more about yourself. So,
Yeah,
so yeah,
I think that's a good way of putting it, right? You want to push yourself, but you don't want to sort of immediately set the bar or sort of create this expectation. Once I've achieved that level, I'm going to roll up the ladder behind me and don't bring people with you. I'm really curious. I've I'm a little race director. I have a couple races here in the Northwest, and I've done some group runs. And you sort of started with the group runs and then went into races. You have to tell me a little bit about this group run thing because I find them insanely exhausting as the organizer because you
Sure.
have to run and participate, but you also have to host and prepare. And you're saying you mark the course, mark the route beforehand. Give us a little bit of an idea. How do you set this up?
Sure. Well, and it's kind of come a long way, and for some people, they are. I've had other race directors tell me that it feels like they're putting on a race every weekend, so they
Yeah.
don't do that. And for us, it's I have a lot of help. I have people that want to get up early and get out there, and really what it is just we'll start an hour and a half early, and usually it's a 6 mile route, anywhere from 5 to 7 miles, and we just put reflective, hangers in the trees that we clip on, and then that way people can follow, so we'll get done, and it's kind of, you get your traditional early crew that gets out there in the dark, and we run together and goof around, and then 7 a.m. we get back to the start, and I try to have a little bit of just an intentional thought for the week, whether it's some training idea or something more spiritual or mental, that everyone can kind of take with, and that kind of brings us together for the run. And so we have subgroups within trail routes, and we just call those packs, and those are based around pace, and each pack has a couple pack leaders. Each the goal for that is so that people, when they show up, when they come to a run, that they have friends to run with, and we're able to group up before the run starts, see who your people are. Like, okay, these are people around my pace. Because one of the challenges is you can start a run feeling great, especially when you're new, and not aware of, like, okay, what is a comfortable pace? It might feel comfortable for the first mile, but if you're new, then you're like, oh yeah, this is really difficult, and then you're out there by yourself because you're kind of in no man's land. So the pack leaders, we all kind of group up, and then we start the run, do the route. Some people will do, we keep it, like I said, that 5 to 7 mile route, because then if someone wants to do one route or two routes or three routes, it's not terribly monotonous. The more veteran ultra runners will do that, and then they might add on, their own stuff after that. So it's kind of a little bit for everybody. And during COVID, we built out this white label app, and so instead of like sending weekly emails with all the directions and information, we just it's like a yoga app, but it has all of the routes and all of the locations and the workouts, so people can pull up, each day what to expect, and we can see who's coming, and then make sure everyone has someone to pair up with. And that's kind of it. We just do the run, then we wherever we're going, we'll announce breakfast and spend time together after. So and that's kind of our big day. That's the day we get the most people. That's my favorite, just because people are excited about trail, and you kind of get to see something different every week because we're in a different place. Even we'll visit some of the same trails, but then we'll make a different route or something like that changes it up a little bit.
That's the app is a super smart idea, right? Because the communication, I think, I don't know, 5 or 7 years, I think this was sort of the expectation that everybody moved the group onto Facebook, and then sort of that's where the communication was. But now people are dropping off Facebook. So where do you sort of gather? And then you're back to email. But if you have an app, then your community, and you can sort of set the expectation that here is how I'm communicating, right? So that's brilliant. I like that.
Yeah. It's, I mean, the one thing we don't have is that, we use GroupMe for our inner chat rooms. I would love to find an app that has everything that we need, but it turns out, we need Strava, we need Training Peaks, then we need a chat app, and then we need the route app. So there's a lot there, but it's a work in progress right now. And yeah, like the app just makes it so anybody can see where we're running on any week, and they can join in. Maybe they're not a member, but they can pull it up and just, even someone comes to town and they want to see what we got going on for jump in, so we get that all the time. And
Yeah.
it's convenient because people aren't scrolling through their emails wondering where we're going to be.
Yeah, I think it's good. I love this idea. I wish app building would be easier. We're talking about how it's, sort of a white label yoga app, right? No, it's true. I mean,
Right.
I build websites, and the idea of sort of trying to build something that can bring a community is cool, but it is technically quite challenging. And I think everything got scaled that you need millions of users in order for it to make sense. But obviously,
Right.
you're not gonna get
Yeah,
millions of
obviously
users together, right?
not at this point. And that's why that one worked, because it had mostly what we needed. And Amy put together, we put together all of our routes, all of our workouts, so that was a lot of upfront time. But then, now we just add one here or there when we need to, when we have a new place we're going to meet. So it's been a lot easier for us to navigate. I think the challenge I've seen as we're getting bigger is, and now that I have a son, how do I was used to doing everything, all the time for the business and for the group and the community. And now adding more races to the calendar, those kind of take up my whole week, and leading up to it, it's like this last race, we had to change venues like 6 weeks out because the race canceled on us, or a venue canceled on us. And that basically took all my focus to figure that situation out. But it all worked out. But I think figuring out how to stay connected with the members in the group when you're not there at everything has been, what I've been working on recently. So
That's awesome.
Sometimes it's just sending an email, a little like, hey, you guys, here's what's on my mind. Let me know your thoughts, all those things. And then being intentional at the runs that I'm at. I always want to get like good photos for Instagram and all that stuff. But sometimes I realize like, oh, you know what? It's probably more important that I'm just actually here engaging with everyone, rather than trying to show everyone what we're doing.
It is a big challenge, right? Either you're the photographer, you have that view of the outside in, the documenting, reporting piece, or you're actually engaging. Sometimes it makes almost more sense to dedicate someone and say, you please take some photos because I want to be here, right? I want to be able to do that. So it makes sense. So you mentioned your races. So do you feel like there was something that natural grew out of these running groups that you say, hey, we wanted to bring sort of an event together that celebrates the community and is sort of a bigger thing? How did that grow?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, it was a goal of mine to put on races. And for a while, it was just another thing that I kept talking about, though. And I would just say, oh, yeah, I want to do that. But I didn't know. I helped put on a race before, so it took my wife coming into the picture. And she used to run, she's one of my athletes a long time ago. And after I got divorced, and we kind of met up randomly afterwards, and she was like, hey, I'm a project manager. I can, because I was complaining about I don't know where to start, and I don't know, I'm just the visionary here. So she's like, I'm a project manager. I can actually help a lot with that. And so we spent some time working on the first race. I think it was in 2016, and launched our first race at Texas Switchback. And so it was something I wanted to do for the group. I thought it was a way that we could spend time together and give them, a goal to work towards. And so we've slowly added more races over the years. And, now we have this was our second year on our 100K for our Dos Senderos trail race. But I'm also just took on the Big Bend Ultra. So I'm excited about that. That's a totally new venue. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So I'm pretty pumped to be able to get out there this next year with that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for each one of your races, it's in a sort of an entire like event series, or not a series, but an event, a weekend event, meaning you've got multiple distances. You not just have one distance. Was it always the intention? Did it grow that way because you had people asking? Because the logistics are hard, right? Sometimes you wish,
Right.
oh man, just one finish line would be really nice, but you're leaving people behind. How do you make the decision to how to sort of build that out?
Yeah, I mean, so now we have for like the Texas Switchback here in May, we have a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a marathon. And I think the first year I think we still had the 10K and the half marathon, and then we're like, oh, we can do a marathon out here. And then we had people wanting to do a 5K, so it was just people starting to hear about it and then wanting to bring their family and their kids. And so, yeah, I didn't think the 5K was really long enough for people to drive, 45 minutes from Austin to do, but it's turning out to be a decent size race, And this next year, I have a mile route planned. I'm going to call it the pipeline mile, but it basically takes this pipeline across the ranch, and it's just these super steep up and down. They're not huge climbs, but it's super technical. It seems like it'll be pretty gnarly, and I want to put some money and get some fast guys out here to just go destroy themselves on it and see what we can do. And that's kind of I ran the college, and so there's bringing getting some competitive people out there is exciting to me too, just in some of these other races. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of like every race is different. Like the race we had last week, Dos Senderos had, we had 19 people sign up for the 100K. And so at some point you're thinking like, oh, is this really worth spending, 12 hours on, ended up being like 13 or 12 people that finished. So, you're like, man, like it feels like the race is over by like 6 p.m., but then you still got, 12 people out there for another 12 hours. So, and I think it is, at one point I was really getting tired and I was like, man, how am I going to stay up all night? Like, is this like, there was part of me that wanted everybody to quit. And I was like, I just want to go to bed. And then I was like, okay, you put on this race for a reason. Like you put on this race because you wanted people to challenge themselves and to push through them, what they think they can't do. And so like, I don't want anyone to quit. I wouldn't mind taking a nap, but I just had to like sit down and have a little bit intentional prayer moment where I just said, okay, this is my purpose. I'm here to be here for these people. And then I wasn't tired until about 5 a.m. So I got through, sometimes I think for me, working the ultras are just as challenging as running it, even though I know physically it's not at all the same. But there's just so many different moving pieces that go into it. And I do have a lot of help and a lot of great volunteers now that, over the years, I kind of run around with like a mental list, and now I'm learning how to put that stuff down into processes and have the same people helping like with packet pickup, with the gear tents, with course help. And so that really helps, because otherwise me doing it on my own, like the first few years was probably not sustainable.
Yeah, it is super tough to like in the lead up to it, right? If you have a vision, you can sort of tackle all of the technical pieces. Okay, I need to get the permit, I need to get the route marked, I need to get food for the HC. Right? You can sort of check these off, but then at race day, it's such an interesting challenge of keeping the technical pieces moving while sort of keep being the host, being that person that can be there for the runners and welcome everyone and make sure that they all right. I mean, this balance is a super big challenge. And so if the organization is small, if the race is small, then you want to keep it all under your own head, and you crack in half after a while. But so you need a certain number of runners for it to justify, but also once the size of race, the distance grows, you just need a lot more people to help you out. Otherwise, it's impossible.
Yeah, and I think you start somewhere, right? And like, okay, like for me, just seeing a few people that really have to work through their challenges, that people that want to quit and that are just dragging through the whole thing, like you see their mental fortitude, and like that's inspiring. And like when the last woman finished the race in 23 hours, I was like, I felt a little bit emotional for her, just seeing, and she was cool. She was like, you know, she had some IT band issues and basically had to like walk and drag her leg through the second half of the race. So, but I was like, I don't know if it was because I was just tired and delirious, but I was like, I think I'm crying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, man, this is emotional watching. Just because it goes. That's a long time to be struggling. 12 hours and going through a race. Um, so I was very impressed, and so it makes it all worth it. Even though sometimes they're smaller, that's fine. We'll, if it's the right thing, it'll continue to, people will have good experiences and come back and tell their friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I do feel the same way, that when you're actually at the finish line, especially if you were the one who envisioned that the course, and then people run it, and it's not just that they're just like picking up what you put down, that they love what you're doing. That's not what it's all about. They're experiencing and challenging themselves on a route that you put out, and if you get to welcome them, it is more rewarding than running yourself in some respects. Sometimes I have to remind myself, like, oh yeah, I probably can't forget my training too. Like there is
right.
this moment where seeing other people run and challenge themselves and successfully complete, and seeing their smile on their face is super, super rewarding as a race director.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're doing it. It's and when we had to change venues about 5 weeks out this last time, we thought about canceling the race, but I just was like, there's no way. Like people have bought flights, they've been training. Like if there's any way we can make this work, we're gonna make it work. And and that's why I just wanted to provide that environment, and I think people need that. They need opportunities to challenge themselves and to get out on these trails across. And in Texas we have a lot of big private ranches, so some of our races aren't on state parks or anything like that. They're on private ranches, and so these are places where a lot of people aren't going to see, except for these race locations, these race dates. So yeah, I was really grateful that we were able to swing it and make it work for this one.
No, that's fantastic. So you do these community runs, you are organizing races, but you also offer personal coaching. Did I read this right on your website? That's sort of you said, would you call that your three-legged stool to be able to work with people individually?
Yeah, it's when I started, I realized some people want, like, I didn't want an all in or all out type of thing. You know, I wanted there to be an opportunity for people that just wanted to show up and run and connect, and then also to have something a little bit more in depth for someone that's training for Boston or their first ultra. They want some guidance, they want to coach, and so we have a handful of coaches um, that work with the athletes in the group, and so we'll do some virtual coaching. We'll also we have a strength coach that we're working to, because that's one of the challenges I see with a lot of our runners is that they don't do the strength work or the mobility work, and so kind of dialing that into the routine has been really important. And then we offer one-on-one where we'll show up at your front steps and go for a run with you, and so that's a lot of fun because those are the times where I really get to know someone, on a deeper level, and dig into like what's really, things that they're working through that are challenging them, and just provide some, some perspective. And so,
Yeah.
we also have running trips too. We have a handful of like runcations that
Oh yeah,
we offer, and so that's kind of after that, that's about all we do. All those things. But
that's amazing, though. I mean, it's amazing that you provide all of these diverse kind of opportunities for people to get to be in the community and to run for your city, for your community. But it's also cool for yourself, right? So you get to try lots of different things, have different projects, right? It keeps things fresh. If you, especially as
absolutely.
a small business owner, right, if you only do one thing, sometimes you feel like, well, I set out to not phone it in with my day-to-day work, and now I've got things dialed so much that I'm starting to phone it in. I need to shake things up, right?
Yeah, and I think I feel that with just sometimes, like once we, like I was saying, have the app, and once we do like we plug in a route, and then it's the same route when we do that workout, and then I'm like, oh, we've been doing the same route because it's already dialed in. It's easy to pull and drop it in, and I'm like, but there's like 2 or 3 other routes we can do here, and so we need to get in there and just once a year or twice a year mix it up so that we're doing something different and seeing a different side of the trail or a different road, and even with the business in general. I'm not by trait like very organized, and so everything I do tends to be like from scratch. And so I've been like, that's something I've been working on. Like, okay, how do we, if we want to offer new locations, or how am I going to teach other people to coach, in ways that I think are important. So I actually worked with a business coach last year and a half, putting together like a process manual and all that stuff, which has been really helpful. That's something I can use as we're trying to connect with more people. And so, but absolutely, it's important. And I'm, this last year I had the dream to become a police officer, and I know probably a lot of people can't relate to that, especially at this point. But I just felt like, man, we really need some good people out there that people can feel like comfortable with, in a uniform. And so, and I grew up wanting to be a policeman my whole life. And so, but I also realized like I have a job or a career that I'm totally fulfilled by. So I could be totally happy doing this the rest of my life. And so I don't want to just leave that behind and go be a police officer. And so, because it's one of the most fulfilling things I could think of doing, and I love it. And so I actually ended up volunteering with search and rescue here locally, which is kind of fulfilling some of that desire, I think, to really just be there when shit hits the fan for somebody, whether they're lost or whether they're stuck in a flood, or every time that happens, I feel like I want to be out there, and a lot of us, my wife is like, don't go outside, and she wants to make sure I'm still here to raise her son and be with her. So I think, anyways, it's kind of evolved into this really cool opportunity for me, and for hopefully, as we bring on more coaches, more staff to continue to build this out with, because Austin isn't the only place that needs this.
Yeah,
I think there are everywhere needs running community and needs people to connect with. So, and I find it's harder and harder for people to find ways to do that. Like I was before, but it's like there's one day where it was like our last day that we were playing. Like we went to ride bikes with our friends, and we didn't know like, oh, that was it. And we went to college, and then got serious, and we had to start paying bills, and then we're like, well, we got to get married and have kids, and then you're like, all of a sudden you're like, shit, what am I? I'm not really having fun anymore. I'm just chasing what I think I'm supposed to be doing. And so I find that I think that's a big part of why people struggle with depression. And it's, so getting out and finding that way to play and have fun, and talk to people, I think is like, to me, that's like key to those moments of like happiness and at least fulfillment in what I'm doing. So that's what I hope. And I hope I'm able to provide for our Austin folks here too.
Yeah. No, I think you put this in beautiful terms. What we as a society need, especially the more and more we are moving ourselves into urban areas, right on concrete, we're surrounded by electronic devices, right? You call it play, I always call it our search for adventure, right? And trail
Yeah.
running especially gives us these micro adventures, and it might sound I don't know, preposterous compared to people base jumping and doing real serious stuff, right? But I think what we can do on a weekly, on a regular basis, what we can make accessible to other people is these micro adventures. I mean, how many people get to jump over routes? I mean, once you're grown up, you pay bills, you do the smart things,
Yeah.
you drive in your car from home to the grocery store and back, right? We're not out on dirt anymore, right? We're not finding this moment when we've almost lost control of ourselves, but we're doing it on purpose and we're bombing down a trail or so, right? I think it gives us a lot when we chase this and experience that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that search for adventure is exactly what it is too, along with that play. That's what it is as a kid. Like you're playing, you're exploring, and I love that. And there's something different when you're on a trail for the first time, and you don't know where it goes, and you don't know what you're going to see, and every now and then I'll just mark a random route, like hey, we're just going to run up this creek bed for a while, and it's just really out of the blue, and I don't know. I think anytime I find myself on a new trail, there's excitement and wonder and curiosity. Um, like, okay, how far is this going to go? Where am I going to go after that? And it's just kind of you're figuring it out as you go. So I think that adventure part of it is huge. It's a huge component of what we're doing. And so, I think, yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that for sure.
So you provide these adventure opportunities for your community. What are some of your big adventures that you personally train for, dream about?
Yeah. I mean, recently I set a goal a long time ago. Like, I was really fast in high school and college. Um, and I always thought I would get to certain levels, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll probably get there by then. Like I thought I'd be an All-American like my freshman year, and I didn't. And it took me until my junior year. Um, but then I graduated from college, and like people were qualifying for the Olympic trials for the marathon. I was like, oh yeah, I should be doing that here soon. And then I never did, and I realized like, man, I'm gonna have to like actually work towards this. It's not just gonna happen, and I'm gonna have to focus. And um, so I've been working towards that probably the last 4 or 5 years, and I've gotten faster. I went from I think 227 to a 224 to a 220, and then this last year I went back to 224. But I also kind of realized like that might not be fulfilling and inspirational to me to go run this time. Like, yes, I would love to run that fast and to qualify for the Olympic trials, but where is that going to take me? Like what I've kind of realized, and maybe this is a cop out, but I think what it really is me connecting with what's motivating to me. And that's just, I just like to compete, and I just like to rub elbows a little bit, to push myself. And when you only do it, once a year, and then you spend 6 months training and then 2 months getting over injuries, it's like, I feel like that's kind of where I've been. And what I want to do is just, I like the daily grind. I want to be training every day. I want to be working out. And then I want to race more frequently, whether that's trail or road. I like, you know, pushing myself. And
Mhm.
so at this point I've been getting over some injuries as well. But I think as a group we have like the Tunnel Marathon lined up for this summer, that we're doing a trip. But I don't have any, like, most of the time I've been putting a lot of energy into what we're going to do as a group. And so my hope is kind of dialing in some more races for myself that are fun.
Mhm.
And for me, fun is not necessarily fun for everybody else, but it's just like um, I just want to get out there and compete on a regular basis and see what I can do, you know. And and I think it's different to go run against the time versus running against you know, everyone else in the field. And so, and I know I mentioned earlier like not comparing yourself to others, and I think there's good ways and bad ways, or I think there's positive and negative ways to compare yourself. And sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, there's someone in front of me, so I think I can catch them. Versus like when you just destroy yourself mentally because someone else is in front of you and saying like, oh, that person's there, then I'm a piece of shit. You know, I should be faster. And you know, so I think
Yeah.
you gotta just be careful. And I don't think it's wrong to compare, but I think it's you just have to. For me, I have to know like, okay, like there's productive, and then there's like, then you can just tear yourself apart.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, at this point, you know, something that's been exciting for me has been even stuff that's not related to running, like jumping on the search and rescue stuff. I've been working this last year to play the fiddle. It was something I always loved listening to, but it's so difficult. And so I was like, oh, I can do that. And then I was like, I had a thought like, oh, I could do that if I really wanted to. So why don't I try? And so I had been running, you know, through high school and college and post collegiately, and that's been my focus. And so having a few things that can balance it out, um, that aren't revolved around running sometimes is good for me too. So
Yeah.
um, that stuff helps. And you know, having a kid and my wife, she runs marathons and she's running Boston this year. So um, we kind of got to balance it out a little bit so that my job like keeps me busy on the weekends, nights, and so she's got to make sure, and I have to make sure to support her, and then be there for my son too. You know,
Yeah.
not just pushing him stroller all the time. So
I think it's a good sign of maturing, right? It's like it's so tough to compare yourself to others when we don't know their story. They might have, you know, had 3 more years of running experience. They might have the ability to focus more in doing that training block than we were or so, right? And so it's tough. And
yeah,
I think especially as we get older, we get busier and we juggle different things. And that can be a distraction, and perhaps there's a time to focus back, but it can also mean that we're actually doing more things that are actually fulfilling to us. And so therefore our goals need adjustments. But we do need those moments where we can have a goal ourselves, right?
absolutely. And I think, you know, like I mean, that's something that in college I realized I didn't ever set goals. I didn't set intentions. I just, for me, it was like, okay, I'm gonna run my best. But I realized that I was in some ways afraid of failing, and so I never really set any goals there. And just being okay, well, yeah, I didn't get that. Like, I'm gonna keep. It was always a thought, like, yeah, I think I should be able to do that, but it wasn't really dialing that in and being okay with not getting it. You know, there was something like, well, if I don't, then that means I'm worthless. You know,
Mm.
or something to that, or that I'm a failure as a human. And um, I'm working to realize that's not the case.
Yeah.
And but yeah, absolutely, setting goals and just challenges. Like that's all it really is. Like just setting some challenges for yourself. But let's see what we can do here. And you know, I would really like to set some more of that up. You know, in the next year, but some things that yeah maybe scare me a little bit, but that are still things that I can go after.
Yeah. That's good. Well, now you're going to be the host of the Trail Running Film Festival. That doesn't scare you. That's comfortable. I am super excited that you're going to be hosting and bringing the film festival down to Austin. Tell us a little bit location plans. Tell us about
Yeah.
your version of the event.
Well, so at this point, we have a location. It's called the Austin Film Society, and that's kind of on the north side of town. It's a nonprofit, kind of small film theater. Yeah. And but I'm really excited just because there's going to be a lot of people that I don't know there, and just to be able to get kind of a captive live audience to share a little bit about what we do, and invite people out. And then I think Xterra the Xterra community came out and did a film with us last year that we're going to share as an intro. And so, I would love to have done our own documentary within Trail Roots, but we don't have one. So for us, it's just going to be being able to have, there's food there, there's drinks, and spend time getting to talk to everyone, and then invite them out to come run with us for a trail run. So I think for me, there's going to be a lot of new faces, but we're getting close to selling out, so that's exciting.
Yeah, super good. Yeah,
we had about 150 spots, and so for our first year trying this out, that was what we wanted, to just be able to fill the theater. And so Amy put together a good plan for us to get the word out there, and we've had just a lot of interest and a lot of excitement around it. So it's been probably since the last time it was in Austin was the last time I saw it, and that was probably 5 years ago. And so I'm just excited. We're going to do some raffles and giveaways there, some swag from that we have, and some race entries and stuff like that. So it's going to be a fun night, and I'm really excited to have everyone out there for it, and excited that you guys are providing the opportunity for us to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, as I've been selling this over the last 2 months, it's been an interesting challenge to be excited about partnering and then realizing, oh, wait a second, I'm not actually traveling. I'm not actually get to hang out with you. I am relying on you, and I totally trust you, but you sharing all your awesome ideas of what your plans are, and I'm like, I wish I could have traveled. I wish I could come out and get to know you, your community and stuff. I think it would be fun. It sounds incredible. Do you have the date on top of your head for your showing?
April 20th.
April 20th. So we still have a little bit of time. This is amazing. April 20th in Austin for the Trail Running Film Festival. Erik, thank you so much for coming on Singletrack and sharing your story, sharing the story of Trail Roots and your running community in Austin.
Yeah, Matthias, thank you for having me. It's great talking to you.